Hey, what's up, guys? I was not supposed to make a video this week, but after listening to this album a few times, I decided to make a personal album review for that one. Because, yeah, I'm a prog fan, really. That's my first love, before falling into heavy metal. And yeah, sometimes, when I discover an album like that, it just reminds me, of my first love, which is progressive metal. So today, I am reviewing for you the second album from Finnish prog band Wheel with the title Resident Human. So let's go for it. Wheel is a band from Helsinki, Finland, who do actually, of course, progressive metal. So this is their second release. The first release was an album from 2019 with the name of Moving Backwards. And now on March 26th, they just released Resident Human. So what is the theme on this album? Well, they say on their website, we live in a time where it's possible to edit and manipulate nearly everything, but this time we chose to fix things instead of manipulating and editing them. So this album is a figurative deconstruction of humanity, what it is to be human in all our brilliance and all our ugliness. So the band is composed of James Lascelles at the vocals and guitars, Santeri Saksala on the drums, Aki Virta on the bass, and Jussi Turunen on the lead guitar. So the album clocks in at 50 minutes. Yeah, it's a prog album, so obviously it's quite long. But don't get me wrong, it's long, but you don't really see it. It's 50 minutes, but once you play the album and you realize it's over, you just have, one feeling is to play it all over again because it's so incredible. It's composed of 7 tracks, and it starts with a long track that clocks in at 12 minutes called Dissipating. And this track here starts with the guitar and bass notes. It's very aerial. And you can hear the clear vocals on all the album, just something that you need to understand. It's a clear vocals, you have no growls, it's pure prog. When you listen to this album, honestly, me personally, it makes me think about Tool, really, on every track. Even the voice of James, you can really compare his voice to the voice of Maynard James Keenan. A lot on each track. Whether he shouts, whether he really sings quietly. Yeah, I cannot stop making the comparison with Tool, honestly, and that's also valid for the instrumentation on this album. It's really Tool-esque, from one track to another. So if you like Tool, especially the latest album from 2019, I guess. It's a gem that you can't miss, honestly, this album. So it's heavy at times, especially that first track is heavy at times, but yeah, you have this mix of voice really screaming, you have this voice really quiet, you have a mix of balance, perfect balance of the two voices, and it's really well done. The drums are omnipresent on this album, the percussions, the drumming is great on this album. I think it's what does this album, what makes this album really so exceptional is the drumming. The drumming is honestly perfect on this album, all way, from start to finish, it's great. So the first track is Dissipating, 12-minute track, quite long, but honestly, you don't see the time pass, The voice of James Lascelles is really comparable to the one of Maynard James Keenan, but that I already said, especially on the scream parts, on the screaming parts on this album. It's not growls, it just, shouts a little bit, no growling here, again. The two next tracks of the album are shorter tracks. They clock in at 4 minutes each, with track number 2, Movement. It's a faster track, wilder, great riffs, from start. The vocals are again very aerial at first, but then it's moving and changing into screams during the chorus. It's a short track, but with the rhythm really accelerated like a lot, And then we get to the third track, which is Ascend. It also shows a great riffs there, with a mix of quiet and screaming vocals again. Perfect recipe, and that recipe will stand all along the album, And the chorus is rising. Why deny all the evidence? After these two shorter tracks, we get to the fourth track of the album, which is called Hyperion, and is actually the longest track. It's 12 minutes long, yeah, 12 minutes, but believe me, it's an amazing track, if not the best on the album to me. So it's a start, 100% instrumental, it's a more quiet, it's lower, and then you have James's voice that comes up, you know, after 1 minute. And it sounds a lot like Tool, you know. Here you can really compare to Maynard James Keenan voice, you know. It's amazing. The drumming is amazing, super amazing on that one. Really, at the second half of the track, the rhythm accelerates, you know. The riffs become wilder. The percussions are above it all, you know. The percussions are crazy after the first half of this track. I think it's one, if not the most Tool-esque track on the album.
Easy now for us to empathize with others upon the path. Harder to harbor this animosity.
The next track's title is Fugue. It comes back, you know, to a more atmospheric moment, really an atmospheric feeling with a nice bass segment accompanied by a nice guitar strings. It's again a short track. It's a short track, 4 minutes and a half. The vocals arrive after the first couple of minutes. This is I think it's the most atmospheric song of the album. And then we reach the title track of the album, Resident Human. It's a long track again, 10 minutes and a half. This track takes basically all the previous ingredients, you know, that we've heard so far on this album. You know, it takes the perfect recipe of everything you heard before. It's a quiet start with a nice guitar solo, and after 1 minute the drums make their appearance, you know. It will accelerate after 4 minutes and James's voice will finally appear. It cannot be more Tool-esque after the fifth minute of this album, you know. It's an explosion. It's telling us that we are clearly reaching the end, the conclusion of this album, you know, the end of the trip. After 9 minutes and 30 seconds, you have those screams, you know, that came repeating the same sentence, you know. It's really Tool-esque to the max, you know, on this passage, and it's gonna end up the same way as it started, really quiet and atmospheric. Yeah, let's give a listen.
Reevaluating my relation to the Ciceroes until only I remain. Only I remain. Only I remain. Born of the mountain.
We finally get to the outro track of the album. It's a 2.5 minute track, piano solo. What a perfect way to end up the album, you know. After all these emotions, we can now rest a little bit and hear these really nice piano notes, and it's a perfect way to end up this album. So I guess that's it for me. This is the end of my review for this album. Now it's your turn. Please, if you like prog, even just a tiny bit, just go and discover this album because you won't really be disappointed. So thank you for watching me, and please feel free to put your comments down below. What do you think of this album? And don't hesitate to share, to like, to subscribe to my channel if you like this kind of content. And I will see you in a very, very near future. Ciao, guys.